we now flip to get what the youths think or are thinking about the President Tinubu's youth intervention plan for them. And I have delighted to have a prominent youth activist, Hassana, Maina. I hope I got that right.
Yes, you did. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, because I've been harangued here about the name, so I'm glad I got it right. You listen to my chat with the youth minister. I started by asking the date, of this confab. By the way, what do you make of the president's confab for the youth? What do you make of it? What do you think of it?
I think at first my thought would be that it is well-intentioned, okay. But when you look at the facts on ground, then it makes you wonder whether my thoughts are actually correct. So for instance, we have had situations whereby when youth speak up, what happens is that they are being abducted and taken. I can give you an example. Look at Daniel Ojukwu, that happened last year. Look at Hamdia, the informal youth that the minister was talking about, because he categorized youth into formal and informal.
Informal.
Yeah, and Hamdia is an informal youth that was speaking in the language she understands, that was speaking from her heart about the insecurity that was besieging her people. Yet she was arrested and abducted and made to apologize publicly for speaking up. So when you sit back and you say you want youth to be able to speak up, what do you do when youth speak up? Do you listen? So for me, I think I look at it and I'm like, this is tokenism at its finest.
Oh.
And I wonder if at this point we have the luxury to continue to engage in such. Because when you say you want to listen to the youth, it makes it look like the youths have not been speaking. The youths have been speaking, we've been talking, we've been shouting, we've been saying it. But also, I think there's a thing about what we're saying and how you want us to say it. And if you want us to speak in a certain way because that's the only way you would listen, then it doesn't necessarily give us the confidence to think that you actually really want to listen to us.
Yeah, because he said that, for example, he said that it won't be business as usual. For him, as he explained, the problem over time has been that we have had, according to him, incompetent people, people who didn't know, I don't know whether to say that from their right. And I did ask him, people of character, that I said, do we have them now in this government? He said, yes.
I really do not, because if you look at even how the selection of the people that President Tinubu agrees to work with, it's based off on loyalty, and this is clear to see. So people that have been loyal to him since his political journey are the people that are leading Nigeria at the moment. So I don't know if it's a question
that those are people
of competence or of loyalty.
I don't know about competence, but people, yeah, okay. Oh, referring to the minister, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just talking about if you are to say there have not been competent people that have been working in the country, I would just wonder if appointments now have been any different, because the people that President Tinubu has been appointing into his cabinet are people that he has known and people that have been loyal to him since the beginning of his political journey. So I don't know if that has changed or if it only means that it's only loyal people to the president that are competent. So yeah, I'm asking a question,
I understand. I understand the question you're asking, and you're making a point from the question you're asking. I can understand. The president, like I told him, he says is asking the youth to maintain faith. But I did ask him in maintain faith the way things are presently. I mean, we can't run away from the way things are. If government is running away from it, we can run away from the way things are. And I said every day, the cost of living, people are, I even talked about the acronym is, the normal thing people say is JAPA, but of course, moving out from the country abroad because they feel things are not the way they ought to be. So I asked, what do you think? Maintain faith. The president says, I think he puts it this way, is it have patience? I keep trying to remember the way he said it. Nigerians should have patience or something like that. But right in the middle of it, the house is being built for the vice president. The president is buying a plane, and even the budget thinks there are provisions there for feeding, and then you're telling the youth to maintain faith, and I don't know, your youth. So that's why I'm discussing
I think it's
with
a very interesting point that you're raising, because you cannot be patient when there's no hope. And the honest truth is Nigerians have lost hope. Nigerian youths have lost hope. And why wouldn't they? More than
Should they lose hope, really?
63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. What that means is that they are not only economically poor, but they are educationally poor. And we can see it. The statistics is there to see. We have had an increase, staggering increase in the number of out-of-school children. Outside of that, it also means that infrastructurally, Nigerian youths are there are lots of poor people. So if you look at these things, where is the hope? And then you look at the budget, because there's a popular saying that says you should put your money where your mouth is. So you can't continuously tell us, oh, you need to be patient, you need to have hope. The Ministry of Youth and Development have budgeted more than 591 million naira to maintain their office. Yet they only have 50 million naira for mental health and psychosocial support for young people. And we are living in an era where mental health is a pandemic. It's a global issue. Young people are dealing seriously with mental health issues, and just 50 million naira was budgeted for that. And you look at that and it makes you wonder whether or not these people that are saying we should be patient are really serious about taking us out of this situation. Look at the amount of money that is also being put out for cars. The State House is budgeting more than 6 billion naira for cars. And yet the prices
and you're wondering what happened to the past cars.
Exactly. And yet the prices of Maggi keeps increasing. The prices of oil keeps increasing. And you know, sometimes when we talk about data, we tend to forget. We tend to not actually place a face to the number. But I can tell you that I know people that used to drive cars that now no longer drive cars, and they have packed up their car. And in a country with no proper public transport system, what it means is that these people are no longer economically productive, because if they cannot use their cars to move around, what does that now tell you? So can you see what we're talking about the multidimensional poverty that we are facing? You're talking about having a conference where young people would be able to come out and speak and tell you solutions to the problems. There have always been solutions. One solution, go back to that budget, look at it, attach monies to the issues at hand, and stop attaching money to luxury items. We are not a country that can afford luxuries.
Give me some of the issues.
Education. Look at health, especially mental health. Look at issues of sexual violence. How many sexual assault referral centers do we have in this country that are functioning, that are not being funded by donor money, donor agencies? I run a sexual violence organization, and I know what I'm talking about when I talk about these issues. So when you look at all of this, it now begs the question, how can we be patient? How can we have hope when you're not putting your money where your mouth is?
If we discussed, it's been long, it was out there before in 2020, the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund that's been moved. It was moved up from 75 billion to 110 now, and I was asking what informed the moving up. That's one. You know, who qualifies and all that. What do you make of the fund? I even asked who will participate. Isn't the government this time with the confab, with this fund, showing that, yes, they are kind of interested in the youth and their fortunes?
You know, I'm going to answer this with a question that you asked. You asked the Honorable Minister, what is the selection criteria? And you used the word hijack. How can we ensure that this is not being hijacked? I think this is where the questions come in. How are we sure that this is not being hijacked by political loyalists that would also give it to sort of buy political will? Because that's mostly what we end up seeing, you know. Monies that are meant to be given to the people are used to buy the people. And it is unfortunate. I mean, young people are impoverished and our future is being mortgaged for free. You know, I'm in my 20s and I know people that are in their 30s that sort of their future was mortgaged, and now they're in their 30s, and you know, they would be in their 40s, and I would be in my 30s, and life just doesn't get better. We are just always hoping that it would get better. So no matter what increment we have in terms of what is even the M&E system? You know, the fund that was given to the people before, what was the track record? And you would not know that because it wasn't actually given based off on any criteria. So you can't have an M&E when there's no criteria, you know. So when you look at all of these issues, you would realize that at the core of our problem in this country is for us to really sit down and first things first, to be honest to ourselves, to look at our issues heads on and to really place our money where our mouth is. Again, let's get back to that budget.
Getting back to that budget, and then maybe try as much as possible to, if not totally obliterate it, reduce it to the barest minimum, political patronage.
Yeah.
Because from what you're saying, I mean, that's what, like I did ask him, that's what usually causes all the problems. And I think talking about that, when I go back again to 2020, when it was 75 million, most of them, because you had 25,000 and only 4,375 could not access the loans. Only 4,375, and they complained about not being able to, a portal open, they couldn't send emails, and I was asking, how do you prevent that, you know? So, if the president were to meet you now, as a youth, I mean, what would you really tell him? I mean, advise him on the confab, on the 110 billion naira NYIF fund. What would you tell the president?
Let's just settle to the issue of the confab. First things first, I'll tell the president to really look at what people are saying. Because what people would
Because
say
it might eventually get to that. It might eventually be, because with your CV, what I've seen, it might eventually get to that, and you have. So I'm already giving you.
But you know, I think for me, the point is, he must be able to listen to people, because what people will tell you might not be palatable. But that's why you're a leader. You know, you must listen to people. You must stop focusing on how people are saying things and listen to what they're saying. You know, it's all of our country. We must come together to fix it. So when young people say
differentiate
things,
between what they said and the body language.
yeah, so when young people say things that are not palatable on Twitter, instead of government officials sending their boys to go get them and lock them up, that like it happened to Saint in Onitsha, they should sit down with these young people and say, what is the problem? What can we do? How can we fix it? Let us stop making our young people endangered species. And at the end of the day, it's that let us see how we can make sensible investment to the future of our young people. I think that's what I'm going to tell the president. And if he's able to implement these things, if he's just able to even listen to these things and they're not being sieved, you know, you're not sieving what he should hear, I think we would just take tokenism out of the table and we'll be able to get to the real issues and we'll start to solve them. Because when it comes to competent people, there are lots of competent people in this country.
Nigeria, yeah.
How come when they come to government, they start behaving incompetent?
Okay, just your last word. I mean, you've climbed. So what do you tell the youth now? Because they'll look up to somebody like you, you know, because I know you were talking about lost hope. I mean, the only thing we have is hope, really. If somebody loses hope, that's the end of you. So what will you tell the youth out there now, you know?
I think for me, what I always tell people is that Nigeria is our country. It is ours. You know, it doesn't matter who is in the position of power today. It is our country. And if you look at it, whether or not we like it, it's a cycle of life. These people would soon fizzle out, and it is going to be us. So we must build ourselves. We must build our capacity so that when we get there, our children are not sitting down on this table and
build
saying
ourselves,
things. Yeah.
Build our capacity is very important, especially when you have mentioned our children, because it's our country, not their country. It belongs to everybody.
Absolutely.
So we should work together. Hassana, Maina, thank you for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good discussing with you. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye, and thank you for watching.